This is Elena Roche and my tutorial on sketching the human figure for my first-year students at Classical Art Education Center, which is a Blue Ridge Academy's approved vendor. All right, so here we go. So if you take a look at the skeleton, what do you see? Like, what are these lines here?
Bottom half, mid half, top half.
Yeah. So you see how the shoulders and the bones in the shoulders line up, right? That's when you draw your shoulders, you're gonna draw this line first, then you're gonna fill in details, whether it's a skeleton, muscles, naked person, or fully clothed, doesn't matter, right? We're always going to put another line for the hips. For example, there's the hip bones. So that's where the body's curvature happens. We're always going to put a line for the knees to find it. See how this actually is parallel to this. And with the foreshortening, there's perspective and all of that as well. And if the person is standing completely straight, then all of these lines will be parallel to each other. But it's also parallel to the heels. All right? So there are also basic proportions that you need to know. For example, look at these diagrams here. These are like basic diagrams of how to see basic body positions. Once you see them as this kind of stick figures that are all proportional, you'll be able to draw the person in sketch, at least in any position. So the main thing we need to remember, the crotch area right here is usually half and half of your body, right? See how I'm measuring? One half, second half, right? Mm-hmm. Then we can divide that into two more halves, and that's your knees. And then if we divide this mid-chest, basically where your breast is, to this, that's another half. See? The elbows always line up with your waistline. This is where the body comes in and goes out again. This is the waistline. See how your elbows match there? Mm-hmm. So you know not to draw the elbows any longer than the waistline. The hand always comes to mid-thigh if it's completely down. If you draw this whole arm with the hand lower than mid-thigh, it will look more like a gorilla, because gorillas have extremely long hands compared to this section of the body. If you draw them too short, it's also not going to look human. See? Then what are the other proportions? Let's take the head and measure how many times it fits into the body. Here is one to your breast line. So these are two heads now. This is three heads. This is four heads. See how four heads fit almost to the middle of the body. Then another head, that is 5 heads, 6 heads, 7 heads, 7.5 heads. So this body's proportion is one head to the entire body, 7.5. See? The ideal proportion is one head that fits in here 8 times. That's the ideal. That's all of your Greek and Roman sculptures, basically. This one is more realistic to average human, so it's 7.5. But if you put this figure on high heels, like ladies, then it will start to be close to 8, the ideal, which is why a lot of ladies wear high heels. See? Okay, so when you draw any figure, you look for those proportions. The head has to be proportionate to the body in the correct way. Of course, with kids, heads are bigger and bodies are shorter, so proportions change with kids. But we're not doing kids yet. Okay? So let's take a look here. This way. This is Margaret. Okay, this is Sophia. Margaret, could you stand up first? All right. So let's take a look at Margaret and her proportions first. What we're going to measure is from the top of her head to her crotch, right? That area on the skeleton I was showing. Mm-hmm. And from that down to her feet. That's half and half. So right where her sweater ends, that's her half of the body. And the rest of the legs you see below the sweater, that's the other half. See? So that means that if I come in here and say this is where the head ends, and I draw a whole line for her entire body, and I'll say, okay, here's where my sketch will end. This is where I'll place her feet. Now I need to divide this into two halves, like two equal halves, right? So let's divide it into two halves. So here we go. See that? Two equal halves. At least I know where her sweater is going to be ending, and her legs are going to be starting. See? So now what do I need to do? Now I need to find her shoulders and her head. Let's take a look at her head and the proportions of her head to the rest of her body from where we are looking at her. One, just like in the skeleton, goes to the chest line. So two heads is at the chest line. Third head is a little around the waistline. Fourth one's like a little below the crotch, so below the sweater. And then 5, 6, 7. So we have a more extreme angle of observation, so it's 7 because we're close to Margaret. So what does it mean? It means this is how it's going to be. So it's going to be one head. This will be her chest. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be kind of like this. So her shoulders are going in this direction. Her hips are going in this direction. Well, I guess I went a little extreme with the hips, but the sweater is more extreme, but not the hips themselves. All right, so now we're going to find how wide her shoulders are, for example, compared to her head. It's very simple. I'm going to line up the pencil to her head and transport this angle here. So a little bit narrower than what I sketched, like this. I'm going to do the other angle as well, also slightly narrower, not too wide. All right, so now I found this kind of like the width of her shoulders. Now I can connect them to her head. But her head's pretty straight. So while her shoulders are tilting, her head's pretty straight though. Now I can put her hands down. Remember what I said about the hands being kind of mid-thigh? So since this is our half here, I will divide this into half so that her hand has to end right here. Has to end here. Her hand has to come up here. She has sleeves that are just a little above the sweater line. This is where the sleeve was folding. See? Mm-hmm. Then this is how it's going toward the shoulder. On the other side, it's pretty symmetrical from this angle. We can connect the sleeves. Look how I will connect the sleeves. Because this is tilting. That means her hands are hanging, and there is that tilt as well. So I will add that. That means her sleeve is also right here, kind of like this. And then her hand comes out, her arm comes out. And now her arm is, where is it? It's like right here. It ends also right here. It cannot go any higher. So something like this is happening with her hands. See how the sketch is progressing? So what do we need now? We already know her sweater ends here. We need to add her hip area where her legs start narrowing. They narrow toward the knees. And we already know that her knees are right here. Isn't that nice? She's got the ripped pants on. It shows us exactly where the knees are. And it makes it very easy to spot. So I'll put her ribs in her knees right here, in her pants, like this. And then her one leg is coming in, and she's slightly stepping out, see? And the other one, she's putting more weight on, and so the other one has to be right under the center, which is her center of gravity. So I will bring this one more here. I will add that shoe that is similar to yours but not the same. And then I will go ahead and push her other leg further out and away. And because of that, this foot comes forward visually just a little bit more. So Margaret, are you okay, or do you need to change?
Oh, I'm fine. No.
Okay, good. All right, good. So based on that, I will now add more details, right? So for example, see, I didn't do anything on her head except this egg shape. You see the egg shape? So we'll add her hair. Her hair takes up the very top of her head, like this. Then we will carve out the face. We will put in her eye level, eye line, which is very similar to my eye level because she's not very tall. So that means I'm looking right straight across at her. And right above it is going to be her eyebrows. Right below it's going to be where the eyes will end. Right a little bit below that where the nose will end. And somewhere in between here it's going to be her lips and then the chin. So you see how the face is already shaping up without even doing too much? So now I'm going to add a little bit more of her hair on this side. And then I will bring it down. It kind of covers up all of her ears. So it's not going to be showing us any ears. And her hair end like right here. So basically I'm sketching in dark. Right, Sophia? Mm-hmm. Why am I doing the dark? I do see this ear a little bit. And that ear lines up with the top of her eyebrows and comes down, lines up with the bottom of the nose. So because I already kind of darkened it, I'm going to come and pick up this area a bit. But it's so tiny on this sketch, so I don't need to worry too much about it. I just need a basic shape in here. And then the hair comes out wider here that I see. Comes out a little bit wider here. Okay, now I'm gonna smooth out her shoulders. Smoothing out her shoulders so they're not angular. I'm gonna add that t-shirt. And I'm gonna get that V shape here. Adding the V shapes here, all right. She has glasses hanging in here. Can add those. And what happens? The arms, where are the arms folding? This kind of overlaps. Right around the waistline here is where these folds start folding. And this fold kind of points us back to the shoulders. Then we have the bottom of the sweater. And right around here, where our measurement was, we have that pocket. That nice pocket. I love those pockets. They're my favorite. Okay, so we added the pocket. Now we need to finish up the other side. So here we have a darker shadow here. And a couple of folds that also kind of point us from the sleeve to the shoulders. All right, so let's give her a little more shape over here on her legs, ribs. Then what is happening with her bottom of her leg? Right here widens, right here it narrows, puckering. It, again, here it narrows, here it widens. It wants to narrow, but there is a bunch of puckering, so we can now give it its darker value because that is the darkness of her pants. Then what is happening here? Here's the other leg. It comes out, yeah, right in here somewhere. Has a little bit of the rounder shape. This hand overlaps the leg here. So first I didn't bother with doing too much detail. Now I'm gonna come in here and add that detail. There's her thumb. And there's the rest of her hand. And without doing too much detail on the hand either, I will just incorporate the shapes I'm seeing here. Shade her pant and give it a bit more shape over here. So it goes toward the rib. We have the rib. We have that rib here. It extends beyond the width of the leg. So again, here it's narrower. Here it's narrower. Here it widens and then comes down back to the ankle. That is a bit narrower. Puckering. Shade it all. And add the shoe. And this is just the basic design. I'm not even bothering with the details. We just want to make sure that she is standing, that this is coming down here to the heel. That the pants are definitely darker value, that the sweater is medium dark. So it's gray, so we're giving it medium. Where it turns, it becomes lighter. And the t-shirt over here is dark. And the hands are kind of medium value. Arms, hands, whatever, wherever we see the flesh. We're not seeing it too dark or too light. So now I'll add a little teeny bit more shape here to her hand. How her hands, how her fingers, now knuckles, basically how does it work? Where is it narrower, where is it wider, and so on. So give this another little bit of a value. Give this pants a little bit darker value. Let's show that a little bit of the skin shows there through the ribs. Like this. give this a bit more darkness for the shadows, but not too much. Okay, and if you want, you can leave the face just like this, very, very sketchy, and no more work needed. But if you want to go ahead and add a bit more detail, just be sure that you don't overdo it. So basically you can just darken it for the eyebrows, darken it a bit for the shadows where the eyes are, and add just a little bit of the shaping to the nose, but nothing too super because it's so tiny. Okay? So if you want, you can add a bit of a shadow here, but only to show that she is standing on the floor and not floating in space. All right, now we can give this hands a bit of a value like this, a bit of the value for the face, and clean up. Definitely a little darker on the neck because that's definitely in the shadow there. Okay? So this is your basic quick sketch for when you're learning all the proportions. Once you learned all of these proportions, you don't need to draw all the lines. The more you practice, the less of the extra lines you need to draw. All right, but if you are positioning it like this, then perspective applies. Okay.